Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the Bills Roundtable. In just a couple of days, we have the opportunity of turning this ship around, getting back into the win column, and things hopefully will not look as bleak. Obviously, today we are going to be unpacking the full preview and prediction and letting you know everything that there is to know about this Bills-Panthers matchup. Kev, what's going on with you, man? How you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm recovered. I'm recouped. 2 losses into a bye weeks and it's a new feeling. But I'm feeling good. Like, look, McDermott's 9-0 off the bye. Josh Allen's 7-0, and his numbers are ridiculous. Had that last time when we said his numbers were ridiculous indoors, but now he's starting to struggle a little bit indoors. We can get into that a different time. But anyways, his numbers are really good off of a bye. His numbers are really good off of 2 losses. Like, I don't even think there's been game in question. And I think he'll want to get a good right game in the southern part of Buffalo in Charlotte, North Carolina. So we'll see how this all looks up, guys. But I'm not overly worried at this time. And they're pretty healthy in Carolina. We can get into it, but the quarterback position is kind of glaring to me. And it's never great to have kind of a injured guy / journeyman veteran behind him to lead your offense randomly.
Yeah, most definitely. In fact, Z-Bot and I were talking right before you hopped in backstage. We are like, I don't know why I'd feel more comfortable if the actual starter was playing today and Bryce Young, but here we are. Z, what's going on, man? How you doing?
So you asked me if I was excited about this game before we came on, and I said I am, but for all the wrong reasons, right? I wouldn't have circled the Panthers game on the schedule when it came out to be a matchup that I was highly anticipating, but here we are. We're on a 2-game win streak off of a bye. Team in many ways hasn't looked great each and every week. There's been a component of the team that you can pinpoint that hasn't looked good. And now you're looking at the Patriots, of course, being right in the fold of the AFC East. You're seeing how open the AFC is. You're also seeing the Panthers put together a 3-game win streak, be above 500. So there's all these components that have you excited about this. You're excited to see how the Bills bounce back. And you're excited because I guess you're always more excited when there's higher stakes, right? You'd be more excited about a spin of the roulette wheel if you had $1,000 on black as opposed to $1. I think that there's far more at stake here than we anticipated when we first looked at this schedule. If the Bills lose and fall to 4-3, with the Patriots being a touchdown favorite against the Browns this upcoming week with the schedule that they have, and even beyond New England, it just things get far more interesting for all the wrong reasons. You also would have a Bills team lose an unprecedented game. Allen's never lost off of 2 losses. McDermott's never lost off the bye. Obviously, Allen hasn't either. Kevin just mentioned it. Allen's stats off of a 2-game losing streak are impeccable. A 15-2 touchdown interception ratio, over 100 passer rating. So if they go out and find a way to lose this as a touchdown favorite against Andy Dalton, right, making his debut for the team this season, the issues are, look at your face, Dan, as I say that. You can't even not cringe. Like, it's just disgusting listing that off. So if it happens, right, and that's why it's exciting. It's for all the wrong reasons. So, yeah.
I can't wait for my mention if that happens.
Dude,
oh, my God.
Dude, like I said, man, like, this fan base needs a win. I need a win.
Like,
go to Z-Bot.
I need a win.
So the must-win Panthers game. The must-win Panthers game.
Yes.
Which is insane.
Yes.
Which is absolutely insane that we're even in this conversation in the first place. It's funny because, so I look at this matchup, and I have an idea of what this Buffalo Bills team could be. And I think that we've seen glimmers of what they should be, at least at the beginning of the season. Whether or not that it was pretty or ugly, they still were able to consistently put up 30 points. But then for these past 2 weeks, obviously, we've seen struggles on the offensive side of the football. What I've noticed that this team can do offensively, I really hope that they can take advantage of some of the weaknesses I see on the Carolina Panthers defensive side of the football. The question is, all right, like, will we get back to what works? Or are we going to be doing the exact same thing? I kind of want to start it off with the offensive side of the football because I think that's our best opportunity of stopping their rushing attack from Rico Dowdle, is to force the Panthers into a shootout with an offense that regularly puts up 30 points. So looking at the Panthers defensive side of the ball, what gets you excited and how can the Bills exploit it? I'm going to start off with Z-Bot on this one.
Well, I want to be able to run the football in this game. The Panthers defense, in terms of their strengths, it might be in the rushing department where they are allowing less than 100 yards per game, just around 90. So that would be their strength, which is funny because I wanted to go into this game and kind of right the wrongs of that Falcons game where I felt like we got away from what was working. What was working was the rushing offense, but their weakness would be in the passing game, right? That's where their deficiencies are. And this is the perfect opportunity for Josh Allen to make himself smile for his grandmother, right? All Josh's grandma wants to do is see him smile. And I think this is an opportunity for him to be able to do so. We talked about what he does off of a 2-game losing streak and how they've looked off the bye. He's prepped up to be able to do that in this football game. As much as I think that this team is built through the run more than they ever have been, and I think you could argue they're more built on the run than they are right now through the arm of Josh Allen. I think we've all seen the stat that was circulating from ESPN where the explosive plays have gone down dramatically, but what wasn't noted within that is the fact that the turnovers have also gone down dramatically as well. And that is because this team has established the run the way that they have. And I think that they'll try to do that in this game. It's not like the Panthers defense in that department is so stout that you can't run the football at all. But I do think that this game opens up more of an opportunity for Josh Allen to have a Josh Allen type game. The pressure rate for the Panthers defense is nearly non-existent. And so Josh Allen's going to have a clean pocket in this game, more than likely. Everything about this Panthers defense is conducive to a successful day through the air. The interesting thing here is everybody has spent these last 2 weeks talking about the inability for receivers to do anything for Josh Allen. Well, can Josh Allen, in conjunction with those receivers, find a way to exploit a defense that has allowed teams to do so through the air? So there's a lot of opportunity here. Can they capitalize on it? And I think this is going to be a litmus test moving forward. Can the Bills go out off this bye, off the 2-game losing streak, reestablish themselves through the air the way we know that they can? If so, it's going to be a positive sign moving forward, especially taking on the Kansas City Chiefs the week after this one.
It's a must-win indeed. Kev, what is something that stands out about this Carolina Panthers defense and that you like for the Bills?
I don't overly like their structure. I don't overly like their defense much at all, believe it or not. I know we laugh about like how much different is Andy Dalton than Bryce Young, but Bryce Young's played really good football lately. He's played in structure. He's led a good rushing attack. He keeps in third downs in moderation, so we can get into the offense in the second. But when you look at the Carolina defense, I mean, I don't think it's an overly good unit. They don't get pressure. They don't do the things good that the Atlanta Falcons defense did. And even in some stretches, the New England Patriots defense, which isn't overly strong either, has its moments, but there's some definite weaknesses there. This is kind of a worse version, in my opinion, of the New England defense. They kind of play that style. They play zone a lot. They don't have the pressure rates that Atlanta had with the zone behind it. That kind of was confusing Josh a little bit. I think it's a short passing game all day, every day. They're going to go into cover 2 shell. They're going to play some form of zone coverage, quarters coverage, cover 3. And it's benefits all across the middle of the field. It's somewhere that you need to kind of use that game plan that you used a little bit against New England. That's a pretty good game plan where they use that a little bit more man coverage there. But that's the same one that you're going to see here where I think it's a Dalton Kincaid game. I really hope that he's not limited at all at any sorts stretches. They play their run well, but that's kind of the reverse what people say about the Bills. They're not a good pass defense. They can't get after the passer. They've had some stretches where Dak Prescott went off. They ended up winning the game, obviously, but had nothing to do with their defense. It had everything to do with their running game. So ultimately, I don't think there's much to overly stress about when it comes to this defense. I really think that Derek Brown's an underrated defensive tackle. That's a call out for them. And obviously the day that J.C. Horn had, he's always been a solid corner one. Always thought he was playing above his level. Like he's a corner 2, decent corner 2, having to play corner 1. So the good thing in this game is winnable matchup for the Bills receivers. I don't think Josh is going to force it to J.C. Horn, where he's going to be making overhand interceptions again. But I could be wrong, but I think that there's some winnable matchups, guys, across the field for the Bills offense. It starts with Smith Wade in the slot. And I also don't love Mike Jackson on the other side. And they don't get after the passer. And to get to these top guys, it was impressive they were able to run the way, but Dallas's defense is an absolute travesty. Everybody knows it. Like they're a mess. They have a solid offense, and it's going to lead Dak Prescott into that Joe Burrow type of season that Joe Burrow had last year.
Mm-hmm. So that brings up an interesting question. And by the way, I do agree with the Z-Bot where he was talking about that, like, you are looking at a clean pocket. 75% of the time a quarterback is a clean pocket. That's dead last in the NFL. And they run a lot of zone coverage. And by the way, even more interesting, 52% of all of their defensive snaps, at least one playmaker had 2 to 5 yards of separation. Worst defense. What that tells me is that they leave everything underneath. I would love for Josh to get back to that. And as far as JC Horn Island, as far as I'm concerned, stick Keon Coleman over there. All right. And don't target him. And don't target him. All right. Stick him on Horn Island.
Diabolical, Dan. Diabolical.
Yeah, dude. Stick Keon Coleman on JC Horn Island and give him maybe 1 or 2 targets, if that. All right. There's plenty of opportunities. So do you guys think that maybe Joe Brady may have been bullied into incorporating some of our running backs in the pass game, like this game? Maybe
I hope so.
Maybe. Go ahead.
Yeah, I certainly hope so. I mean, seriously, I don't understand why. I thought this for the longest time. You go back to that play against the Ravens. We talked about it last week. It was just a beautifully designed play. It worked to perfection. It was like a 50-yard touchdown. James Cook has been so good in the open field, so good with his IQ, his movement, and I just don't think that they've incorporated him nearly enough in the pass game. Ty Johnson's terrific in that department too. And if you're going to have him out there, why not design a few things to get him involved in the pass game as well? Why not incorporate more of that as opposed to, I'm going to say it again, another end around or two? The Bills are 0-2 and they run an end around. So why don't we go into this week and not run that? Maybe incorporate a pass to the back to the running back in lieu of running another one of those plays. I think that is such an underrated element of this offense that's not being discussed enough or incorporated enough. And I think that one of the biggest Achilles heels for the Bills defense has always been a top running back getting the ball in the pass game. We've seen time and time again teams pick the Bills defense apart and using that. And I don't think the Bills do it enough. And I think the biggest thing here is that people have a multitude of complaints on the wide receiver core. But we do know that the best playmaker on this offense outside of Josh Allen is, of course, James Cook. So why not kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone here? You kind of get the passing game going without having to worry about receiver X or receiver Z or whatever. Get James Cook the football while still throwing the football. You're getting the ball in the best playmaker's hands while still throwing the football, not having to worry about throwing fade routes to Keon Coleman to get him incorporated. I'm sure you saw I'm sure you've seen you've probably seen the chart that shows the routes run for Keon Coleman this year. They're all the same. They're all the exact same. There needs to be some sort of diversification here in the pass game. They've struggled to get it going proficiently this year. And I think one way to kickstart that could be getting James Cook involved. I just think that it's not being used nearly enough. Not only have you paid the guy, but the guy has proven to you that he's been one of the most elite playmakers in the sport this season. So outside of just handing the football off, getting that involved, especially starting this week, I think would be huge. And I think that we've seen the fan base clamoring for it. Potentially that has made its way to One Bills Drive and hopefully into the playbook, Dan, because I think that it will be successful for Buffalo if they do it.
And so that completely puts a nail in the coffin, too, for any defense that wants to run that QB spy mentality. Get these guys going. It's not like, look, all 3 of our running backs are proficient in the pass game. Come on, dude. Let's get this going. I'm confident that we will see it on Sunday. Kev, thoughts? Will Joe Brady, swallow his pride and start throwing the ball to James Cook?
Yeah, I think what's interesting to me is, and this is a tough debate because they really do statistically have one of the better receiving running backs in Ty Johnson, by all metrics. And we saw that game plan last week. And for some reason, I had him wide open on a wheel route touchdown, wide open. Why wasn't it thrown? I'm not sure. Josh has hit that many times. And then he even hit the scramble drill in the playoffs against Denver. I really don't know why he didn't see that one. Fine, no harm, no foul. Had him on the weird EFIS softball pitch underhand throw. I don't think he needed to throw it like that. Even a standard throw converts it and probably gets extra yards. Anything anywhere near him is probably a catch. So that was a weird number 2. And then I had him open on one of the 3rd down sacks, again on the left on a wheel route. Ty Johnson was feasting. And he played the amount of snaps that he did for that reason. I said pregame that this is the game you would use Ty Johnson, a team that blitzes a lot, that you have him open, that he's in single coverage. There's no linebacker that can cover Ty Johnson. So that's what's difficult about it. But ultimately, you want the ball in your best player's hands, and James Cook does elevate to that level that's better than Ty Johnson overall as an overall player. So at some point, we saw it in Baltimore against Baltimore. Maybe if he's just on a better page with James Cook right now, then he does need to be dialed up for some more running back screens, which Josh isn't a good screen quarterback. He's never been. So
why is every screen throw, to your point, by the way, it's like skipping a stone off water? Why is that the throw every time? You ever notice that?
Yeah, he's not good at it, and his EPA reflects it. He is not good at it. I think he's focused on it in one of these off seasons, and maybe one year was a little bit better than others, but it's just not his game. It's not really where he's the best. And it's struggled, and you see it even on these tight end screens. The one time I thought it was a really good screen, guys, was to Amari Cooper in the AFC Championship game, and he couldn't break a tackle and was cooked, and we haven't seen him since. Amari Cooper goes for 30 yards on that screen pass. What a great play, what a great throw, what a great call. Amari Cooper just wasn't good enough to win that rep. That led to the Dalton Kincaid drop or whatever you want to call it later on, but they haven't been a great screen team, and we've seen it, and everyone yells about the tight end screens. And that's why they're trying different drive starters like the end arounds and different things. That was on first down. Ultimately, got to get James Cook more involved. If you don't want him to take the carries that he's never had, and even in his college career, then maybe get him involved in the passing offense. Give him a few plays off in terms of rushing the ball. I'd almost rather have the more touches in the passing game. Give Ty Johnson a few carries then if he needs to have a snap or two off for the long haul, like the Joey Bosa plan. But ultimately, feed him. We're going to have to take the wrath for some reason he does get dinged up in something. That would be on all of us calling for it. But the Bills think they have a plan. But unfortunately, with the 2 losses, they may have to go to what's going to work. And they can't really be thinking about December and January. You got to win some of these games now. And I think they will, but we have to hopefully we don't break him down, because he's going to be so important in the snow, like starting in like we saw against the Cowboys a few years ago. Like he's going to be super important against some of these teams later on this year, starting with that Bengals game on forward. And I think he's an answer to some of the New England game plan the second time around.
So the question is with Josh Palmer, he's week to week. I have this guttural feeling that he's going to be added to the IR. I just have a feeling he's going to be added to the IR, which is okay. Maybe we go on ahead and we bring in Olave, or we bring in some Jordan Addison action. I don't know. One could hope.
Jordan Addison.
Yeah. Why not? Yeah, why not? You're not a fan of Jordan Addison?
No, I love Jordan Addison.
Yeah, I was just going to say, wait a minute. Where the hell are you getting that from? I'd be all in on that.
I've heard a couple of teams have been calling Minnesota, so why not Bean? Make a call.
Sure.
Let's have them lose tonight. Do we want them to lose tonight then? But I want the Chargers to lose too. Do I want the Chargers to lose?
Hi.
Carson Wentz undefeated on Thursday Night Football for all you gambling addicts out there.
Carson Wentz out there, but more of a short-term fix. I'm kind of curious who is going to be taking his targets. Not that Palmer has really had a lot, but like when you think about it, like when they're not in a bunch set, who's going to be opposite of Keon Coleman? Who do you think gets that call? Is it Elijah Moore season? And so I saw Curtis Samuels on, of course, with the injury report with a rib injury, so above all things. But like, who gets that nod, you think?
Well, to me, it goes beyond wide receiver, and it's more so just continuing to put more on Dalton Kincaid's plate. I mean, we watched Jamar Chase the other night, 23 targets, 16 receptions. There was no answer for it. I go back to the New England game. They had no answer for Dalton Kincaid, and there was 6 targets for 6 catches. In the same exact game, you had Stephon Diggs unloading on that defense, and they didn't stop going to him. They just kept going to him and kept going to him. And we've seen time and time again, go back to the Bills-Falcons game. Drake London's having a day. Keep going to him. I think that there needs to be more of an emphasis on getting him the ball. He's had such a great start to the season that I think if there's one way that you can offset maybe not having Josh Palmer for an extended period of time and maybe not having to throw routes that I don't think are conducive to success for this offense. And I once again bring up these sideline fades to Keon Coleman that I just can't stand. Dalton Kincaid to me seems like the great offset, and I would continue to pepper him the ball until you're proven that you can't get him the ball anymore. He just seems to me to be that one guy outside of Shakir that is starting to become perhaps the most reliable target on this offense. It's exactly what we were hoping he'd become. I think you saw that through the first month of the season, and I think that there should just be an overemphasis on getting him the football until you're proven otherwise. I've seen so many of these teams week in and week out continuing to go to their top guy until it's proven that it can be stopped. And oftentimes I've seen throughout the year, defenses can't prove that they can stop it. And you're going against a Panthers team that has not been able to stop the pass game all year long. So I wouldn't get in your own way by trying to force things to guys that aren't there. It seems like Dalton Kincaid has been there frequently throughout the year. He's the guy to me, Dan, that needs to continue to be targeted until proven he can be stopped.
If Dalton Kincaid, man, some action. Kev, thoughts?
I'm a big Dalton Kincaid fan, and I think that he's ultimately, the numbers back it up. He's great in man coverage. I think he's a man beater. I called him a man beater earlier this year, and everyone was like, oh, we have to see more. Like, we don't know if he's a man beater. He's a man beater, right? That's what he did, and the numbers prove it. The numbers prove it. Okay? He's also good against zone. Like, he's also he's always been good against zone. The thing where we weren't sure, can he separate? Can he win in man? Can he win here? Can he win there? He's a borderline a number 2 target, but he's stretching up to be the number 1 target right now. So, like, you did draft him in the first round. That is kind of the expectation, but he's a really good catcher of the football. He's developed somewhat of a blocking chops as well to be useful. Like, how useful he would have been against Atlanta, I can't stress how he's purely Josh Allen's safety valve, and we saw the difference without him on the field. We really did. And then they clearly had Josh Palmer dialed up for his role. They did. He got 2 early targets. He was on his way to a 120, 30-yard game. He really was. And I'm not the largest Josh Palmer fan. I think there's some limitations in his game that numbers and other things don't show. But he was the answer to no Dalton Kincaid. Now you miss him, and now you're missing Palmer. So no Kincaid, no Palmer. Josh kind of was like not really quite sure. But to get taken out of a game plan like that when he was the answer to who was then out injured when Kincaid, that's tough. And we saw it. We saw like kind of what happens in that situation. They started the game with a deep throw to Palmer. So ultimately he was going to go over 100 yards. That's like no doubt about it. So you're missing him and Kincaid. That was a tough come around. Those are their 2 man beaters in my opinion. And Shakir's forward is for zone coverage, but I just didn't think him and Shakir were on the same page. Dalton Kincaid needs to get going early and often in this game. And I don't think they have the luxury to sit him again. Unless he is honestly too hurt that he can't play. But he's not in a red jersey today. I can see him being ready to go and good to go. I don't think they're going to be missing anybody but Rapp in this game. And then obviously Daquan Jones. But I think that they will use Kincaid. He's part of my game plan against this defense. To me, is not very good in the second level, except for JC Horn.
You got to ice up that oblique, Dalton. Have to ice up that oblique. I want to go on ahead and give a giant shout out to our good friends over at Picasso's Pizza, folks. Number 1 pizza in Western New York, 4 great locations and delivering nationwide. When you go to their website, picassospizza.net, simply just hit this nationwide button and you can go on ahead and send the gift that keeps on giving. For anybody that's moved away from the area that misses the taste of home, it is the perfect gifts as the holidays right around the corner. Surprisingly enough, I was walking through Walmart and I saw Christmas decorations earlier this morning. All right. In fact, I'm pretty sure I heard Christmas music blaring through Walmart this morning. Halloween hasn't even happened yet, but of course it is what it is. All right. So let's talk about this defense, right? Damn. All right. It's keeping people up at night because they're looking at the production from Rico Dowdle. And they're looking at the production from Hubbard being back as well. And a lot of people are looking at this yards per carry metric, 5.8, which is awful. It's absolutely awful. I tried putting something on X and Kev defended me, and I appreciate that, where I like to point out that out of all of the rushing yards that the Bills' run defense has given up, 36% of that has come from Bijan Robinson and Derrick Henry. So are those 2 things anomalies? This Buffalo Bills team is the second worst in the NFL for allowing explosive runs. It's at 31, second only to the Miami Dolphins. However, if you were to take those out of the equation and look at how this team operates and defends the run, right, just by itself, I'm pretty sure it's holding run defenses to about 2.5 to 2.6 yards per carry, top 10 in the NFL. And some of the best run defenders in the league are slightly above us, like the Cleveland Browns. So I'm hoping that with Larry Ogunjobi coming back, which if you go off of his run tackle percentage from last year, is automatically better than anybody we have had playing in the interior already. we should see a slight improvement. I'm not going to go out and say, I expect this run defense to be top 10 in 4 weeks. No. Give me below average. All right? Like, give me 17th ranked yards per carry. Hell, give me 21st. So I'm curious to hear, is Larry Ogunjobi and some of these defensive reinforcements, hopefully being back on Sunday, going to play a role in this? Kev, thoughts?
Yeah, like, look, I don't think that Larry Ogunjobi is a game wrecker, and like I'm not going to sit here and say like he's Justin Simmons or Jeffrey Simmons. I always call him the wrong name, or a top flight defensive tackle. But he's good, and he's good at his role. And the Bills specifically triggered him for a 4-3. He's not a 3-4. Struggled a little bit under Mike Tomlin. So for me, I think the upgrade difference between him and an aging and pretty much out of the league pass rush only Jordan Phillips is a lot different. Like Larry Ogunjobi will make a fundamental difference in this game, in my opinion. And I think you'll see that. And Michael Hoyt is a matchup nightmare. They signed him for a reason, to have another level of protection. He can cover. He does some things that are interesting in the slot. So there's going to be a matchup difference. You can run 3 linebackers with him now. That's why they've been practicing so many base defense, because Michael Hoyt is going to be one of the stand-up linebackers in certain formations. So I think these 2 suspension players are going to bring a different level of defense, and you're going to see it. And we've all talked about it. Sean McDermott started calling the defense in the second half. I don't care what he says. Like, I don't care if Bobby Babbage had the headset or not. I don't think it really matters who had the headset. Bobby probably still had the headset, but it was his defense. It was his adjustment. It was his ability to mesh at the line of scrimmage that totally changed the game. And I will say this till I go every week. He put the film together for San Francisco's hurt defense, because they were playing the same way the Bills were in the second half of the football game, where they were muddling things at the line of scrimmage. They were getting jams at the line. They were close to the line of scrimmage. They had brought in their linebackers, and they were doing some of the things that the Bills matched up with in the second half against Drake London and Bijan Robinson. So the Bills are able to do that now with a couple of different chess pieces. I expect the defense to be fully healthy and ready to go, minus Taylor Rapp. And Jordan, that could be calculated. Does Jordan come in and do something different for this roster? I think Jordan is really good in single high. That's the difference here, guys. Jordan Poyer, watch him in single high coverage. I think he adds another level to where he doesn't have to have too much responsibility, because everything's in front of him. And so that limits some of the athletic differences or the athletic negatives. So I'm excited to see what this defense can do. And I think they're going to go all in this game to stop the run. That is what they're going to sell out. If Andy Dalton does happen to beat them with his second and third options, and Leggett has a few plays, so be it. But ultimately, they're going to sell out to not allow Dowdle. And they're a confused offense myself, because with Dowdle back and they have Chuba Hubbard back, they've struggled a little bit with identity in terms of who's getting the ball, because Hubbard is a captain. So ultimately, I think it's plus matchups for Ogunjobi and what the Bills can do. There's benefits here when this defensive line's back to full strength and it's getting close.
God, I hope that McDermott just decides to call plays. Like you would think, right? He's going back to his former job. Like, not that, of course, like he left with bad terms or anything like that, but hey, come on. Z-Bot, thoughts? And do you think that some of these new additions, and then also some of these players coming off of injury, are going to improve this run defense?
Well, they better. I mean, what else can you say? There's the room for improvement is so drastic that you would hope to God that the implementation of them would lead to some sort of improvement. It's the sole reason why I'm low-key terrified about this football game. You look at what the Panthers did with Rico Dowdle on the ground against the 2 other defenses similar to the Bills in their rushing statistics, in the Cowboys and the Dolphins. He had Hall of Fame caliber type days. This is why I'm looking at this game, and there's very similar aspects to other games in the past year this season, where you have a top receiver in Tat McMillan, right, that you think is going to be able to do something in this if the run game isn't completely dominating. And if it is, and it opens up the pass game, then it allows him to be opened up even further. Then you look at the run game in and of itself, and this is a guy that has gone nuclear against similar defensive opponents. So I'm looking at this one, and this is why the Andy Dalton or Bryce Young thing hasn't really mattered all that much to me, because it's going to come down to whether or not you're going to be able to stop the ground game. Now, Dan, I thought you made a great point with your analysis on the explosive runs, right? And them being an anomaly. And when they're not getting explosive runs, the numbers within those between explosive runs are pretty damn good, right? It's about 2 yards a carry or so, 2.5 yards a carry.
It's not bad.
Here's the problem, though. Even though they are they're statistical anomalies, unfortunately, they're not anomalies for the Buffalo Bills. We've seen this time and time again. Derrick Henry launches one. Bijan Robinson launches one. You can go back into last year, right? You saw similar stuff where it felt as though on the down-to-down type runs, you weren't getting gashed, but all of a sudden, there'd be a run that would open up that would really elevate those numbers. This is what concerns me. It's not necessarily that you're baking that in to happen, but it does feel as though you do kind of have to do that. And when you're looking at the run defense, like I said, from down to down, it's not the worst thing in the world, but these explosive runs aren't happening once every couple of weeks. It feels like they're happening once every time you play an elite running back. And we've seen it time and time again. Right. Yeah. So, I mean, Bijan Robinson had the longest run of his career in that football game. We've had Derrick Henry go for nearly 200 or more. The last couple of times we've seen him outside of that divisional game where they turned the ball over numerous times. So it needs to improve. And with the additions of Hoyt and Ogunjobi, you would hope that could be a catalyst towards the improvement. But it's the only reason why I look at this game and have some sort of fear within me, right? I do think that the offense is going to bounce back. I do not expect this offense to lay another 14-point egg. We haven't seen it, right? That was such an anomaly. You want to talk about anomalies. 14-point score by the Bills against the Falcons. That was an anomaly. We do not see this team get held to sub 20. It just doesn't happen. They scored on both scripted drives of the game and nothing in between. You just don't see that often. So I anticipate an offensive rebound here. This team doesn't throw the ball particularly great, and I don't anticipate them dicing up the Bills through the air. But the one thing that I do anticipate is that they are going to have the ground game working until I'm proven otherwise. And this is why this game in particular, ever since, you knew this was next up when you were going into the bye, it was the first thing you thought of when it was Bills Panthers. And you're watching what Rico Dowdle's doing. It's the first thing you thought of. Oh my God, he's doing this to defenses awfully similar to that of Buffalo in terms of the statistics. This is what is around the bend here. So you have a great opportunity to right your wrongs. You're coming off of the bye here. You're adding resurgence from the personnel perspective going into this game that you think could be conducive to elevating the run defense. We got to see it on display this upcoming week because, fellas, if we see Dowdle go off again, this will now be every single game where the Bills have played a top-tier running back, or at least playing as a top-tier running back. I don't think anybody went into the season saying, look out for Rico Dowdle. Then all of a sudden you watch a 2-game stretch and you're like, good God, we haven't seen anything like it all year. It's going to become a theme at this point. If we're talking about anomalies, you can start to create the notion that what you were talking about, Dan, these explosive runs, you can start to say they're anomalies if you start to hold top running backs in check. And this is an opportunity to come in and do that this upcoming weekend. But once again, if they have a day on the ground like they're capable of, and like teams have been doing against Buffalo this season, this is going to be a tight football game. There's just no question about it.
So I've been scrambling backstage because I've been trying to find out who the leader on this team is for missed tackles. I think when I checked, what's that you said?
The Bills or Panthers?
This is the Bills. So a couple of weeks,
wouldn't it?
Was Rapp? Yeah, I saw that Bernard about a couple of weeks ago had quite a few too, which was kind of my thought. I did notice that he ended up on the injury report, and maybe I'm crazy, but like, I almost would prefer if Milano is healthy again, like you just throw Shaq Thompson out there in nickel and just have him take those reps. I'm not hoping that Bernard has an injury and he's going to be out for a couple of weeks. I would never do that. But like, I almost kind of like, I know that this coaching staff is never going to take snaps away from Bernard, right? And replace him. But like, I almost wonder if we're in a better position, like for Shaq Thompson and Matt Milano and those nickel looks.
Yeah, Rapp has 8, so a 25% missed tackle rate as a safety. It's ridiculous.
Get him off my team, man.
Talk about injuries. Is that an actual injury? They claim it's from training camp. Maybe thigh doctor would have some more insight into that. Or I know Banged Up Phil's has done some stuff on that. I don't know if that's a true injury or not. They haven't listed it, which means he hasn't been getting treatment or any missed practice or snaps. So luckily, the NFL doesn't really care. He's playing through it. They only care if it affects gambling, right? So if you can't say a player's healthy and then show up game day and scratch him, that would get looked into. But When it comes to Rapp, we don't actually know if he's hurt or not. He's clearly not going to play. I think they really want to do the Poyer method to see how that goes. But yeah, Bernard's third. Joey Bosa is actually second with missed tackles. But Bernard is currently third. And his missed tackle rate's not crazy, though, for the amount of plays he's involved with. It's not great, but it's not alarmingly bad. It's just got a little cleaning up to do along with. I mean, the team's missed 57 tackles. So, I mean, it's think last in the league, but close to it. I haven't analyzed every team. But it's the style of defense they do play. It's even every year when their defense is a little bit better, that is something that they sacrifice that because of the style of aggressive defense they play in terms of hit ball, see ball, get ball. Zone coverage is always going to have a little bit of missed tackle rate. Yeah.
And so explosive runs to me, like that's a tackling issue. It's not like an inherent run defense issue. It's wrap the damn guy up and bring him down. All right.
You tweeted it, by the way, about the explosive play rate.
Yeah, most definitely. And people were like, oh, yeah. And so my diet's going well until I have a cheesecake every single night. Like every other hour, I'm doing okay.
Right.
And I get that. But like, I just kind of wanted to point out, I'm like, look, like we just need to wrap and like get these guys in. Like maybe it helps too. That like now like you insert like guys that are actually supposed to be starting on the interior defensive line that might be able to slow some of these backs when they're pounding the A gap, right?
Pounding the linebackers too, right?
And we're in a better position to tackle somebody right before they break to the second level. That could be it. Like that could certainly be it. But I mean, so I look at this defense, and so again, I'm hoping that Sean McDermott does call the plays. I mean, he doesn't need to announce it. I just hope that he does. As far as secondary concerns, like what sort of keeps you up at night? And so I know that the Carolina Panthers, like their identity is running the football. Like they need to run the football in order to win. I think I saw something like say like they have like more than like 20 rushing attempts or like even north of that. Like that's like when they've been favored in these games. When they stray away from it, like that's when things kind of fall apart. But who's going to have a rough day in our secondary, you would say? And besides the obvious, Tre'Davious White, he's probably going to get completely destroyed by Tet McMillan all day. But I mean, and so are there any other matchups that scare you within the secondary? Or, I mean, talk to me.
I mean, when I'm thinking of the secondary right now, I'm more just thinking about what's up with Max Harrison, right? I'm watching this footage of him running around in practice, and I think we're at the point now where we're just hoping, right, that this could be the difference. We talked about Ogunjobi and Hoyt coming in, maybe being the difference for the run game. This is your first round draft pick, right? The guy has speed that's unprecedented in this league, and you're watching him move around. He looks good. That's where I'm at right now. I don't look at any game currently and think that there's going to be some magic wand waved over the secondary that's going to solve the issues. I do look at him, though, and think this is something we haven't seen before, right? And you invest a first round draft pick in him. Could this be the difference maker, right? You mentioned it, Danny, getting this defense into around average in some categories, around average or slightly below average, as opposed to areas that are well in the bottom of the statistical categories. This is what, I mean, the Cowboys are saying the same thing, right? If we can get our defense into somewhat of an average territory, we're going to be lethal. There's teams throughout the league saying it, but we've seen the Bills be able to succeed with having average defenses. The offense obviously has to step up. If we get the offense in the last couple of weeks, then I think that they're without a paddle for sure. You need the offense to be able to deliver at the level that they have been over the last couple of seasons. But when I look at the secondary in this game, it could be a multitude of different guys that wind up exploiting the secondary at some level. But I look at, when I'm talking about the secondary and I'm looking at it right now, my focus primarily goes into Maxwell Harrison. What's the plan there? What's that going to look like? They activate him. He looks good. I'm just wondering what the plan is now. What is the plan? When is that plan going to be implemented? I don't know what you guys think, and I doubt it's this week, obviously, but I don't think that you're going to trot him out for his debut against the Chiefs either. You are going up against a team that likes to throw 3 or 4 picks a game, not too long after that Chiefs game, right? In the Miami Dolphins. Maybe that's where you see him. Not sure, but that's where my mindset's at right now. With the post-bye being here, guys being back that weren't on this defense prior, is that going to be the difference? We talked about Hoyt and Ogunjobi. Could Hairston be that difference in the secondary?
Yeah. Well, my question would be, how bad would Tre'Davious White need to play on Sunday for McDermott just to say, all right, screw it? All right, Max, you're in.
I don't know what he's seen up until this
in.
point that wouldn't have him put him in now if necessary, right? I mean, I get it. I get it. Right. Yeah. You're just activated off the IR. I get all that. And the semantics behind it, you might not want to throw him in right away. But I don't think you're going to see anything that's going to drastically change. I think every single game, Tre'Davious White has had at least a moment where you're sitting there saying, man, like that was Trey White, right? We're plain as day. Just something went wrong. Is that going to be offset, though, with rookie mistakes, right? I mean, you're going to have that. You're going to have the growing pains with Hairston, surely. But you invest a first-round draft pick in this guy, you got to try and get that type of talent out of him as soon as you can, because you are talking about an area that has been sorely deficient this season. And I understand having to wait until the optimal time, but unfortunately right now, I don't know if an optimal time exists for Buffalo. I feel like the optimal time is right now. I mean, we talked about it earlier with Kincaid. Kevin had mentioned, I don't think you can just save your best stuff or whatever for the postseason. You got to start trying to win these games now. Well, this is kind of how I look at it in this regard too. This is why I don't care who's calling the plays or who needs to be out there. The best situation for Buffalo needs to be implemented, whether that's McDermott calling plays or whether that's taking guys off the field that you don't want to take off the field, but you need to, because it's just not benefiting you right now. I mean, this is what the team needs to do. There needs to stop being this seemingly this emphasis on doing what they think is best for the guys in the locker room. Maybe they need to start doing what they think might be best for the overall situation of itself. And I don't know if they're not doing that. I'm not saying they're not doing that, but I'm also saying that what they have out there currently, we have a large enough sample size to know that it's just not, it's not what you want. And we haven't seen Hairston yet. You got to see him. I just hope it's sooner rather than later. That's where I'm at. And I know it's probably not going to be this week, but I would if it were up to me, honestly, I would go this week, even if it's in a limited capacity, just because you know what you got coming around the bend. Right now, Patrick Mahomes is the number one fantasy quarterback in the NFL. The guy's been cooking. I mean, I don't think it's being talked about enough because of how consistent it's been, but he's probably the MVP right now. With Baker not playing all that well this past weekend, you look at the numbers for Mahomes, he's been absolutely on fire. And you have Rice back, you have Worthy healthy. I mean, next week, we know what's around the bend. Is it going to be fine with or without Hairston? And wouldn't you rather just see what you have and the opportunity for it to be better? Because you already know what it is without him, right?
Yeah, man. I would tend to agree with you, right? Throw him out there now. Right?
How can I don't know if it can be much worse.
Practice reps in, look, yeah, I understand. Oh my God, his development, roll the dice, Paul.
But the thing that they've already had the benefit of right now is 3 months. This was supposed to be a 3-week injury, and clearly he hurt more than just what they're saying. Clearly, I don't need to be an injury specialist to know that something else was injured, but they have slow played it. It's not like a situation where we're all sitting here talking about week 1. It's not like, oh, you've got to get on the field against the Ravens right now. We're not.
You're halfway through the year.
Yeah. What are we slow playing here? He's been running on the sideline for weeks. Now we're finally seeing practice footage. I don't hate getting him 20 weeks against whether it's his fellow rookie Ted McMillan or even Xavier Legat. I don't mind him getting the reps in this game against an offense he should be able to at least maintain a little bit from his side and his perspective. But I'll let the Bills do one thing here. I'll let them play against, I think, a cool move, and maybe it wouldn't work, but it's one that why not try? Get his first action, who they haven't seen, against the Kansas City Chiefs, and let him go out there and cover Rashee Rice, or even more, Xavier Worthy is the guy they probably drafted him to match up against. So let's go, because that was the guy who was winning actually more than anybody in the playoffs. So ultimately, let's go see him against Worthy. What's the worst that happens? You put in Trey White, okay, fine.
That's the thing. I don't what do you got to lose here, really? And you invested a first round draft pick in him. It's not like you drafted him in the 5th round and you want to see what you got in the late round guy. This is your first round draft pick.
They started strong week 1, so they don't even care about that. Ultimately, it's a simple scenaririo of Z-Bot. It may be the whole tush push thing. Are they making an organizational decision to not have him look bad?
If that's the case, and that's complete malpractice. That's complete malpractice.
I feel like that though, because every time McDermott speaks, it's the expectations. He's He's a first-round pick. We all have our expectation whether he plays this week against Carolina, next week against the Chiefs, or against the lowly Dolphins. We're all going to have expectations. And if he plays a bad team, our expectations are probably a little higher.
So do you think that they're fearful of him not being good?
Yes. Not being good. Maybe that's a little extreme. Of looking like a rookie and poor early on so that he takes more criticism like he did in the 2024 draft. I really think there's a little bit of that organization. 3 months to rehab, like get him out there, let him cover some of the Carolina Panthers, unless you really have a plan for him against the Chiefs. I'm cool with that. There's no reason you need to nickel dime and tore out all 21 days of this thing and just grind it up and grind it out every last hour you can of him on this thing. Get out there and give him some snaps. You can make in-game adjustments if you need to. Like, ooh, Jamarcus Ingram is inactive. Like, oh man, like what are we going to do? But ultimately, get him some snaps against the Carolina Panthers. I'm okay with giving him a week to rehab with real reps. There's no reason you can't play him against Mahomes because he's Mahomes. That's my ultimate argument is like.
But if we're talking about the mindset in the building, that's what I feel like the mindset in the building would be. We can't trot out a rookie off of an injury in his debut against Mahomes, right?
They would play Dorian Strong right now against Mahomes.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, who knows what the hell is going on with his neck injury, right? But like,
Bummer.
so we still technically have an open roster spot, right?
It's going to go to one of the DBs, Poyer or, I mean, Max, I guess. But
so I'm thinking, well, it's probably going to be Poyer, right? Because like, who's going to be?
But you could call up Poyer still for another couple weeks. So
you could.
No.
You
don't have to you can still call up Poyer.
My gears are turning right now. My gears are turning. That
In
know
fact,
what?
you might want to pre-trade deadline because you need to give a spot to Max, and you can still call up Poyer 2 more weeks. So you might as well pay him limited salary, which is less on the practice squad with call up. So do that for 2 more weeks, put Harrison on the roster, and not have to make any crazy decisions. But they could go and just give Poyer a roster spot tomorrow. But
so you would have assumed that like they probably would have done that already if that's
I think so,
right?
I think
like
so.
They probably would have signed Poyer already if that was the plan.
They can do it Saturday if they want.
Dude. Activate
I
Harris.
think they would have too.
That's what I'm running.
Yeah, the more we're talking about
with
this,
that.
like, give me the argument to not do it unless he's not healthy.
But maybe that's what they talked about during the bye. They were sick of the way they've looked and were like, you know what, maybe our original plan was Miami, but we need a CB2. He's going to play this week. It's looking more likely that could be in the cards, but I just really hope that this is the game. Get him down there in nice weather. Get him down there and play 20 snaps. Let him get ready for Mahomes. But I'll totally let you trot him out in his first real game action against Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. I think it would be a bold counter against that offense right now.
Yes, but to that bold counter, if he does get worked in that game, then the immediate reaction will be, how the hell do you start this guy off of IR in his rookie year against this team?
You can't.
I know.
No, I think you win. No, that's exactly right, Kevin. This is how you win. This is how you win. Because if it's good, bad, or indifferent, it happens against a team that is insignificant to you. You're playing your biggest rival on the planet next week. All eyes are going to be on that game. So to me, I think it's bold. You're damn right. That's the operative word here, bold. But I also wonder if it's a little bit foolish to do that as well. I understand what you're saying. Give no tape, right? Give no tape. But you're talking about the greatest, one of the greatest of all time here. I don't know if it's going to matter if he's got tape on a rookie, right? So I think get this guy his sea legs before you're taking the tougher matchup is going to be Harrison taking on Mahomes as opposed to Mahomes taking on Harrison. So give him reps this week. I don't care, even if it's just 15, 20, whatever. There's no reason not to unless there's something we don't know.
Oh, my God. Z-Bot, and so I look forward to watching your propaganda TikTok after this show is over with.
Yeah.
Right? Spread it across the internet.
I don't think I felt it until right now, where I am completely on the get Maxwell Harrison on the field this weekend train.
Yeah. I mean, hey,
they're not going to do they're not going to do the Chiefs bold move. I think that it could be bold. They're not going to do it. They're not going to do it. It's either this week or the Dolphins. They're not going to do KC.
The thing to that point, though, is I would rather see what you have in against the Chiefs. Like, you go against the Dolphins. Like, Tua just went 12 of 23 for 100 yards and 3 picks last week. If Harrison balls out in that game, I don't know how much you know. You're going to know. You're going to know next week. You're going to know.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, most definitely. And plus, like right on top of that, who knows if Jalen Waddle is going to be on that team? Like, who knows if Jalen
could
Waddle
be
is
a
going to
Bill
be on
by
that team
then.
in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but they want Max Harrison against a team they know how to cover, covering Malik Washington or Cedric Wilson or whatever practice squad receiver they call up. That's winning.
Some Madden generated players out there.
That's winning to them, unfortunately. But I think a real bold strategy would be, and if it looks foolish, it looks foolish. How can we down them for giving Maxwell Harrison, their first round pick, a chance to play against the Chiefs? You just counter with Trey White, who would have been playing anyways. So ultimately,
exactly.
I don't think there's a negative that we're allowed to get. We can't get on them if they do get aggressive and try to play Max Harrison against a good offense. We can't go negative against that. I do think, though, to counter all this, play him this week for 20 snaps.
Play him this week, ladies and gents.
I think there's more of a level-headed argument to be mad not playing him than there would be to play him. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
Now I know now I know a large section of fans aren't necessarily using a level-headed mindset all the time. I get that. But if I'm looking at it objectively, there is far more of an argument to be upset about them not playing him than there would be to play him, even if he doesn't play well. Because the argument to it is you already know what it's been without him. You got to see what it is with him, whether it's good or bad or whatever. I mean, and I also think it's foolish to expect this guy to go out there and look like Darrelle Revis in his first game either. You got to have some sort of a leash allowed here for the guy coming off of IR in his first ever NFL game. You got to see what he looks like.
They let Dorian Strong in week 1 cover Rashad Bateman in a pretty big game. I think they need to let Max Harrison do the same.
I mean, hey, you know what? Like, knowing what we know from this coaching staff and regime, I think we shouldn't hold our breath. But I do, and so I will allow them to be surprised. That much I can go with. We have DF Forever caller backstage. What up, Dwayne? What's going on?
Good
What's
evening,
on your mind?
guys. How are you doing today?
What's up, bro?
Good, man. What's on your mind?
You guys are killing it. C-Bot, Kevin, Dan. You guys are doing a great job.
Thank you, sir.
I am at the point with this team where it could go really good, where we destroy it at the end of this season, or it could go okay, we still make the playoffs, or it could actually go really bad. I like to hear from the three of you which way you think this will more than likely go. Thanks for having me on. Peace.
Good to see you, bro.
Brother. Dude, shout out to Dwayne. So it's feast or famine. Say that you were to ask Dwayne about that one.
Tell you what, right now, this week is the test. This, to me, is the barometer of how it's going to go based on Dwayne's question. You lose an unprecedented third game in a row. You lose for the first time off the bye. You lose to Andy Dalton. You lose to the Panthers, the touchdown favorite. That tells you everything you need to know. You are far more likely to go towards the bottom end of his question there, where things could unravel, or they could miss the playoffs or barely make it in or whatever. And by that point, your expectations are so shot that, what do you even care at that point? Because if they do make the playoffs, then what's awaiting you based on how they've played. This to me this is why this game is so big to me. Like, once again, who the hell would have thought this game would be as massive as it is? But I do think that this launches the trajectory of the rest of the season. I really do, because if they lose, it would be unprecedented. A 2-game losing streak is not unprecedented for this team. They've done it more often than not. This would be. And it's not like you're going out there and playing the Eagles or the Chiefs or whatever. You are playing a team you are a road touchdown favorite against. So you lose this game, that'll tell you everything you need to know. You go out and dominate. I'm not saying it tells you the Bills are back, but it sure as hell shows you they got a grip on things over the bye here.
Mm-hmm. He follows up with that, and he says, if we lose this week, is McDermott on the hot seat?
Kevin. He's already on the hot seat for what, half the fan base? I mean, you watch and see what that looks like on Monday if they lose this football game. It'll reach heights it's never been to, ever.
Dude, he would have to DoorDash all of his groceries from now on.
I'm telling you, it'll get to a pitch it's never been off of one of those Chiefs losses. It'll get to a degree you've never seen.
The only close one was the Dorsey fired when they lost to Denver with 12 men on the field. It would probably rival that.
Yes.
The hot seat technically wouldn't change from where it is today. What only changes is the end of the season results. So at the end of the year, if they don't do what they did in 2023, then yes, he would 100%. I've always said this. It will take missing the playoffs before actual discussions had. If he keeps coming back and winning every December like he has historically, So things would be breaking. You're now losing off the bye. You're now losing indoors. You're now losing in back-to-back games. You're now losing whatever. Like you're losing 30 straight games. Like those are all unprecedented things. Now you're getting close to missing the playoffs. Another unprecedented thing. You don't win the division. So now you're stacking those. And that's what makes the debate a lot different than just going and rallying off 7 wins and beating New England and taking the division and the 2 seed. That's not going to get them on the hot seat. It's just not. It's just the Bills get a gate. They get multiple gates for the playoff games. Like that's not going to put them on the hot seat. It's going to take road playoff games at the minimum or missing the playoffs. But it would start being 4-3. The Chiefs game would then become really big, and then that's when the Bills would be losing 4 straight. That's what they would go and beat the Chiefs then. You know what I mean? So it's just like it would take
a Chiefs W would heal all, wouldn't it, Kevin? I mean, it really would. You win this week in dominant fashion, or just win, and then you beat the Chiefs. It would heal all. Yes, yeah. Absolutely.
Think about it at that point, though. Think about this discussion: 6-2 beating the Chiefs, and now you have the tiebreaker on even the Ravens if they ever surge up, which they could with Lamar. Now you have the tiebreaker on a bunch of teams. All you gotta do is go and beat New England. That's literally like your goal for the rest of the year.
Yes.
So we have
tiebreakers.
So we have Cody coming in with a question. He says, "Do we need a blowout? Because to me, 21-13 win is not enough, in my opinion." So if you were to ask 75% of the fan base, no, I do not believe that is enough. However, you two. So do you just care of walking away with a W and going 5-2, or do you need to see some crazy point differential? Go ahead.
I don't need a crazy point differential, but what I need is a complimentary football game where I see improvements on both ends of the ball. And if that results in a 7-point victory, so what? I mean, so be it. If it's a hard-fought game, the Panthers are better than the Panthers of old. They've won 3 straight. They're above 500. I think that they're trending in the right direction. The Bills don't need to beat them 31-3 for me to be like, all right, they're back. But they do need to win. That is the thing here. And I'm not saying that I would be impressed with a 16-13 walk-off field goal victory. I wouldn't. But I need to walk away from that game, not only with a victory, but I need to walk away saying I saw noticeable improvement from the deficiencies of the 2 weeks prior to the bye. That's what I need to see. And if it looks identical to those 2 games, but they somehow stumble out with a victory, I'm not going to feel great about it. Now, I don't think a dominant, like 3 touchdown win is going to be the only way I do feel good about it. But I do think that there's going to be aspects of a win that will have me feeling one way or the other. And I don't think that, like I said, I don't think that looking like they did in the previous two, say they look exactly like they did against Atlanta and they get carved up running the ball, but they don't, I don't know, the Panthers can't get in the end zone. They settle for field goals and the Bills end up winning this game 19-16 or whatever. Is anybody going to feel good about it? There needs to be noticeable improvement. That to me is the whole key here. I don't think it's necessarily reflected on the scoreboard, but it's more so going to be on the eye test.
So what do you got on that, Kev?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a win guy, meaning like, look, I want to win by 30, and the Bills do have their fair share under Josh Allen of winning by double digits. Like sometimes 10 isn't even good enough for some people. Sometimes 14 doesn't look good enough. Like ultimately 10 points is enough for me. Like that's more than enough points for me to win, whether the Bills score a field goal at the end or not, or however it goes. You win by 10 points. I'm sorry, on the road, especially. And this Panthers team isn't a straight pushover. They're a winning team. They would double the Bills win total or whatever, close to it, whatever it is, in terms of their strength of victory. Like it's a team that can compete. The NFC's strong, so they probably won't end up being in the running, but a few more stacked wins by the Panthers and they're a wild card team. So ultimately, or maybe win their division if Baker falls off or whatever may happen. Like that team's so banged up right now. So ultimately, The Panthers are healthy too, minus Bryce Young, which is funny to say. They're fully healthy. It's yet another game where the Bills play a team that's really net positive from New England to Atlanta to Carolina. The net positive on the injury side. So you're playing teams that are very healthy right now. I need to win the game. 7 points is enough for me. I'm sorry. Like, do I want to win on a game field goal? Maybe not. But winning by 7 at the end of the day, when maybe Bryce Young or Andy Dalton has the ball and you stop them, or you kneel out the ball, like 7's enough. I'm sorry. Covering the spread is enough to win. And I'm still okay with getting it out of there with a W, because ultimately you go back and you take care of Kansas City on the regular season, like you have been able to do.
All is forgiven.
6-2, like you're talking about the 1 seed. We're all back talking about everything else that we've been talking about, and everybody probably signs an ink if you're 6-2 winning against the Chiefs. You're probably now the 1 seed's in play, like really heavily.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. Let's go ahead and just make a transition over to our final score prediction and a hot take. I'm going to start off with Kevin on this one. Go ahead.
Whew. I'm going to stay consistent and go with the 7-point win. The spread's the spread for a reason. Gambling Vegas is good. The Bills haven't covered in a while. They will. Like they're not going to keep not covering. I think coming out of the bye, the data's there. Josh Allen off of 2 losses, the data's there. I think they're getting healthier. The data's there. So, I mean, I just quite frankly think it's a 7-point victory. I can't predict a blowout anymore right now, and I usually don't like to. But I do think the Bills will score enough points. I got the Bills 31, but I do think they'll let up a few points with their running game in this game. So 31-24 Buffalo. And a hot take. The Bills will play the run fairly decent.
I like that. I like that a lot.
To your data, though, Dan, real quick. To your data, you've pointed out a thing. Like, you can't remove explosive runs. You can't do that. That's not a real thing. However, explosive runs affect one drive. It's not fantasy football. You don't get 15 fantasy points. It's one drive. It's 6 points. Okay. So ultimately it affects 1 or 2 drives a game with those explosives. But when you're 2.9 yards per carry or whatever it is, minus the explosives, you do give your team a chance to win like they did against New England and like they did against Atlanta. The offense didn't get it done. They get it done this weekend.
Oh, love to hear it. All right, Z-Bot, what do you got?
Yeah, bounce back for the Buffalo offense, I think, here. 26-20, I got the Bills winning. I think they just missed cover in that spread. But 26-20, Allen, and this is a hot take for the last 2 weeks, I think we look at Allen after this game and say, that's more like it. The last 2 weeks, it's felt like he's been a little lost in the clouds, couple of turnovers. I think the Bills will not turn the football over in this game. That's huge.
I like that.
They can't turn the football over the way that they're playing and continue to expect to win. I think they play a clean football game this upcoming weekend. I think Dowdle does have a good game, but I don't think it's a Bijan or a Derrick Henry type football game. And I think that this defense keeps them out of the end zone. I do think that the Panthers will be able to move the ball, but I don't think they're going to be getting in the end zone frequently. That's why I have them getting to 20. And then I do think that the Bills offense bounce back enough to get near that 30-point margin or that 30-point mark. So 26-20, I got Buffalo here.
26-20. I love it. I have the Buffalo Bills winning 35-17.
Oh, yeah. Give me that.
I have the Bills going out. I think that they're wildly efficient offensively. I think Joe Brady goes back to what works. I think that he's going to take advantage of Josh Allen having all of the time in the world in the pocket. I think James Cook is finally going to get involved in the pass game. I don't think Keon Coleman is going to have more than 3 targets. I suppose we could put that down as a hot take, maybe like not so much of a hot take, but and maybe it's more of a manifestation. But
on Horn Island, right?
On Horn Island, man, keep him on Horn Island and ignore Horn. One thing I do see from this defense, though, I do think that it's going to be one of those games where we're going into the half and it's either tied 14-14 or maybe the Bills have like a field goal on top of them, 17-14. But then in the second half, I think the Buffalo Bills continue their second half defensive dominance and hold them to 3 from there.
That sounds right.
That's where I see them getting 17 points. Yeah.
Sounds likely.
Look at that.
I got the same type of game with them scoring a backdoor touchdown to end the game. But I have a very similar style of game that you do.
Yeah, dude, man. Lock it in. Now we all need to do, all right? While we have our Bills like jerseys on Sunday, while we're enjoying the games, make sure you run to Fanatics and put a Cleveland Browns shirt underneath that. All right.
Yes.
We're Cleveland Browns people as well on Sunday. Good. Real quick, I don't want to and to be bad with y'all's time. Is there a world where you can see the Browns defense, making it a game?
Yeah. Sure.
They struggled against Tennessee in the first half. It's a replica of that. Like, it's no different than like what Tennessee, who's an awful team, like they're awful. What they're able to do is like kind of replicatable by Cleveland, who has a good defense, and Judkins is a guy, like he's a dude. I like the growth of Gabriel. We're going to be rooting for the Browns a lot in their division games occasionally and against some of the AFC teams. So they've beaten the Packers. Yep. Ultimately, they can get it done. That's a good enough defense. And you mix in who I believe to be Judkins, which is a young Nick Chubb replacement. And they can threaten most teams, and that'll go into our game later on this year. But I do like them in a possibility to play well because Gabriel's protecting the ball a little bit.
Yeah. And so he's already beefing with Patriots fans already. I'm not sure if you guys saw that.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Some like Pat's man on Instagram was just like, oh, I can't believe Trevion Henderson is not being used. He's so much better than Quinshon Judkins. And he responds, cry.
Nice.
So, and I mean, damn, bro. Like, and so that was your teammate, first off, but I suppose it is what it is. Z, could the Browns beat the Patriots on Sunday?
I think that defense is capable of beating anybody on any given week. I mean, what they just did to Miami was embarrassing. I mean, they really embarrassed that team. They beat them 31-6. When's the last time the Browns won a game like that? They shut down. They absolutely shut down Green Bay. This team also in the Patriots was on the ropes against Miami a few weeks ago in the same time. I know it's a week-to-week league, but if we're thinking of possibilities here, Miami had that game won until the Patriots bring back a kick. And we saw what Cleveland just did to Miami. So I certainly think that there is an opportunity there. It's going to come down to Judkins being able to run the ball well. I don't think Dylan Gabriel will be able to win it through the air.
No,
so if they can run the ball and then keep the Patriots off the scoreboard, I certainly think that they have an opportunity for sure.
Dude, go Cleveland. Go Cleveland. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. We are live Mondays and Thursdays. For the love of all that is holy, I hope we have a good episode on Monday. I hope that we have an exciting episode to unpack for you on Monday. In the meantime, subscribe to the channel, turn on bell notifications, go check out Kevin on X, go check out Zbot on X, all social media platforms. We'll see you on Monday. Peace.